Hello and welcome to Fit to Box channel. I'm Coach Simon, and here on Fit to Box channel I bring you all things boxing equipment. Today we are in St Helens at Pro-Am Boxing Shop with the owner Chris FIRTH, and today we're going to have a little bit of a journey through Chris's boxing sort of career and also what he did after he stopped boxing. So Chris, thank you very much for having me at the shop.
Welcome.
Absolutely great, proper boxing shop this is. I'll put another video onto the channel of sort of a walk around of the different brands that Chris stocks, but this I want to sort of capture Chris's journey. And so what was your first sort of foray into boxing?
Yeah, well, my dad played rugby league for St Helens, so I was expected to follow in his footsteps.
Yeah.
And I wasn't very big.
Okay.
And I played at a high level actually as a half-back or a hooker, and I had a habit of starting a fight.
Okay.
With the biggest.
Yeah.
I got sent off 3 matches in a row for fighting, so my dad decided to teach me a lesson. One of the famous, or the Great Britain Rugby League captain was his mate, Eric Chisnall. And Eric's brother, John Chisnall, run the local boxing club. So I got dragged down to there to teach me a lesson of how to punch properly and in the right place,
Yeah.
not on a field.
Right, okay.
And it stuck. I loved it.
Yeah, so you got the boxing bug and dropped the rugby, did you?
After suspension, I went back to
Yeah.
playing rugby as well.
Yes.
So I was one of those kids that played football at a good level as well. I played for the town at football till the age of 16.
Yeah.
So I had the 3 sports. I
Right.
was fairly okay with.
Yeah, but then obviously boxing, that sort of started with the one that you concentrated on.
Yeah. Obviously this town's probably got more champions of amateur boxing than anything else. Not
Yeah.
so much pro boxing,
Yeah.
but it's always been huge for amateur boxing. So we've been spoiled by the level of coaching we had here
Yes.
for
Yeah.
50, 60 years. We've had so many national champions and Olympians.
Yeah.
So
So you had your amateur career. What was your amateur career?
I had up to junior level, up to the age of 17. I only had 12 and I won 5 out of 12.
Okay. Yeah.
I think because I didn't concentrate on the boxing solely, I played rugby and football as well. So if it had been just doing rugby, just doing the boxing, I would imagine I'd have been a bit of a better record.
Yeah.
And then at 18 I joined, at 17 I had an accident on a motorbike and I shattered my collarbone.
Okay.
So I was out of all sports for 18 months. And then just before my 19th birthday I joined the army.
Yeah.
Was advised to take my medical card back with me, and I ended up in the army boxing team.
Okay.
With the competition I'd had in Merseyside and our gym, I found it really easy. Not saying that the lads
totally different level.
Yeah, not saying the lads in the army teams were rubbish or anything like that,
Yeah.
but I've been sparring and getting good items off Olympians around my weight from the age of 15 up with 16, and getting proper good lessons.
Yeah.
So I was found it really easy, winning every. I couldn't lose, to be honest. I was flying.
Yeah.
Got posted to Germany. Was put on the BOIR team. We got entered into a tournament and like a World Armed Forces, and I won a bronze medal.
Yeah.
While we were in Germany, a local German gentleman who run the club in Osnabrück, he came to us and I've been told about him before from another regiment, that we swapped places with. We were based in Chester. We went to Osnabrück. They came from Osnabrück in West Germany to Chester.
Yeah.
That was One Kings. They were renowned for the best boxing team.
Yeah.
And I knew them from the army team squad things and that, and he said, there's a fella in Germany will contact you and they'll put you on the German scene as well.
Okay.
So those was in my regiment who were in the boxing team. This guy approached us in training one night and he said, would we like to box for Osnabrück at weekends? And he explained that the system was slightly different to what we had here. Through the season it was run like a football season.
Okay.
And the 4 clubs or 5 clubs in each town would have a representative under the town name, and they used to box in the like a Bundesliga for boxing.
Yeah.
So you'd box home and away through the season. The season had end, then they had the championships and like club shows through the summer, little tournaments.
Mm.
So we boxed all year round.
Okay.
And I found that we were getting good money. To appear in the Bundesliga, we could, depending on if it was a top team, we could earn up to like 1,000 Deutschmarks, which was at the time was about £330.
Yeah.
I had mates who turned pro doing 4 and 6 rounders here, we're getting 150 quid.
Yeah.
So I'm doubling their wages boxing amateur.
Yeah.
On the other side of it, we were boxing Olympians again.
Yeah.
So I boxed Rennie Weller at one point. I was only a 54, 57 kilo boxer.
Yeah.
Rennie was, I think, 60 kilo in the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
And he must have weighed about 64 on the night because he was huge compared to me.
Yeah. And so how long did you box for the army?
4 years.
4 years, and then after that, when you come out?
I had a serious injury. I almost lost my leg in the army, and I was in hospital for a year.
Yeah.
When I come back from back to the regiment, they put me on coaching courses to keep me involved.
Mm.
And while I was in Germany, I run the Dependents Club, where we had some of the kids learning to box. I actually had 2 of them out on shows as well, but I was there, which was good.
Yeah.
Came out the army, came home, got myself in a bit of trouble, as everybody does when they leave the army, to adjust into civilian life.
Yeah.
My old coach from St Helens, Mr Chisnall, grabbed me by the scruff of the neck, dragged me back in the gym, and sent me on coaching courses. Up to level, he had me at level 3 in the end, mainly because he had to do the courses to stay in the gym. I think he did his level 1, and he says, "What are you going to teach me? I've been a coach of champions for 50 years. I don't need to do them courses." So he sent me on them just to cover the insurance wise or things like that, I think. But he was like a second dad to me. People used to think he was my dad, John Chisnall. I get threatened everywhere. Tell your dad to calm down. I would be deported and things like that. But
so you got more into the coaching then?
Yeah. We had a good little. We only had a small club. We had about 12 boxers. Out of that 12, we had Gary Davis, who went on to be, he won the school's title and things and boxed for England, and went on to be the British bantamweight champion. Stephen Birch, who he won everything as a junior, and he boxed. He was one of the first GB podium squad members. Boxed in the world championships and everything, and then turned pro with me later on. And then we had Martin Murray. They were our 3 kids the same age, and Martin won a school's title in his 50th bout. Mr Chisnall loved taking them everywhere across the country. And then he won a senior ABA title at 67.5 kilo. And Martin was alright.
It's a good boxer, isn't he?
Nice
good
kid.
Boxer.
Funny kid. He worked in the shop as well.
Did
He came everywhere with me, Martin.
So from the amateur bit, obviously then you've mentioned about getting a pro trainer's licence as well. Where did the shop come in?
When Mr Chisnall was getting me on the straight path, my mother used to live in London, and we used to struggle getting bits and pieces up here. There'd been a couple of shops that had come and gone in the past. SP Sports were big when I was boxing. And there was Kensington Sports in Liverpool. They were okay. Everyone used to buy their gear off them, but they'd open for a few years and then obviously go bust with the way things were in the 70s and 80s. And so what I used to do is to go down to visit my mum for the weekend, and I'd go to Beak Street and I'd buy a few bits and pieces off Bernard and Denny. And I'd bring it back, and the boys would buy it off me and give me a bit of petrol money and that. And then I got an offer of a job from Neil at ProTech. He wanted to develop his. He had a martial arts supply company. He was a karate teacher, Neil. Lovely fella. And he said, "Why don't you come and work for me and develop the boxing side of it?" He said, "Because you've got all them contacts." And obviously, because I got back into the boxing, all the lads I'd boxed against and knew as a kid, they were all coaching and still involved in the sport, so they were asking me to pick bits and pieces up by then.
Yeah.
So, but having all them contacts, Pro Tech Boxing really took off, and I got him to be the distributor for Top 10 in the UK, so that was a big thing back then. The Top 10 head guard, awful head guard, but they used to cut people to ribbons, didn't they? We went on a trip one day to this company in London. They owned the Brian brand name. And Protec used to make punch bags with the Brian logo on for Argos and speedball, and the cheap speedball platforms. And
I think I had a Brian boxing, the canvas one.
Anyway, this company, all they used to do was buy brand names. They had Lecoq Sportif, Brian, God knows how many others. Buy them when they went bust. And I'm having a tour of the warehouse one day. There's a big tarp in this corner, and I could see a back glove sticking out. Being nosy, lifted it up, and it's full of title boxing gear, the original title stuff from the 70s and 80s. And that was really good gear, wasn't it? It was really well made. Yeah. So I've noted that, put it down, and on the way back home with Neil in the car and that, and he said, "Did you have a good..." I went, "Neil, I found all the old title gear." And he says, "What?" So I explained to him what it was and how nice it was and what happened. I said, "Can we buy it off them and I'll sell it for you?" And he went, "I can ask them, can we license the brand name off them?" Yeah. So he did. He only took it up for 12 months, and I sold all that old stock in about 3 weeks.
Did you?
Yeah, and we did all right with it, but he let the brand name go, and McGurk took it up after him.
Yes.
So he lost that. Meanwhile, he's insisted on buying what I thought was just average Pakistani cheap stuff, and I'm saying it's not going to last long. He'll get a bad name, and oh no, I've used that supplier. I'm not. It's not for me to say change suppliers, but I was thinking about it, so I thought to myself, I'll set myself up. So I said, Neil, can I wasn't earning much money off him, so I said, "Can I sell your stuff from a little shop type thing?" Yeah. And he went, "Yeah." I said, "But I'm not just going to sell your stuff." And he went, "Okay." I said, "That's fine." Yeah. So I got this little unit in Huyton, in the industrial estate, just a small industrial unit. Yeah. And I had a few Protec things in there I was selling. And I was sat there after about a week and thinking, what else could I do? And I was flicking through Ring magazine, and I found a number for Everlast, the Bronx factory. Yeah. So I worked out the time difference, and I phoned the factory up and I spoke to the owner. Yeah. And I said, "You know, you sell nothing in the UK?" And he went, "Yeah." He said, "It's not really a big market for us. He said, "We licensed the brand over there to sell clothing." He said, "But we don't actually sell gloves." I said, "Can I be a distributor?" Yeah. You know, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, I want to sell your boxing gear over here." Yeah. He said, "Do you think there's a market for it?" I said, "Well, the UK is probably the biggest boxing market in Europe, so you should have a go, really." Yeah. And he went, "I'll try it out then." He said, "I'll give you a full discount." So he faxed all these prices over to me, as it was then. Faxed these prices over to me and how to do it and what have you. So I'd saved up a few, 150 quid. And I bought some gloves and stuff off him, and head guards, and they sold straight away.
What year would that have been?
95.
95, yeah.
And they did a lovely amateur head guard, and it was IBA approved. I thought, that's well better than the top 10 one, that. So I bought a load of them, sold them in a week. Yeah, yeah. So I just kept building the money up. Yeah. The next thing is he's ringing me up saying, "Can't you buy more gear off me?" He said, you're doing really well. Yeah. He said, my accountant said we had a sales project in the UK. It was 0.01% of the market in the UK. He said, "At the minute with what you're selling," he says, "we're up to 60% of the UK market." And I went, "I'll see what I can do." Well, I got a grant. And while that was going through, I was still buying these short things over. And I said, "You could really do with an IBA approved glove, you know." And he went, "Well, what do we..." He said, "But how do we go about it?" They did an American approved fight glove, but it was lace up. It was just a pro glove with a white knuckle on it, to be honest. Yeah. And I said, "Over there, it needs to have a Velcro strap." And I would suggest putting an elastic cover over the Velcro strap for extra safety, because the pro gloves are like that then.
Yeah. To be honest, they need a cover now.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, I've got an idea on that one. But Anyway, he sent me this sample of these gloves, and like a webbing strap with a Velcro and elastic over the top. And he said, "What do you think of them?" I went, "They're brilliant, them." He said, "I'm going to send them off to Munich to be tested by IEBA." Anyway, he passed. And he said to me, he said, "For doing that for me, I'm going to send you 100 pairs, 50 red, 50 blue, 10, and there was only 10 ounce used then."
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, what am I going to do with them? I'm never going to sell 100 pairs all of a sudden. The NABC Championships was coming up.
Okay.
So I phoned them up and I spoke to a fellow called Keith Darlow. He was in charge. And I said, "Can I sponsor your championships this year?" And he went, "What would you like to give us?" "I'll give you the competition gloves." "How many pairs do you want?" He said, "About 10 pairs of blue and about 10 pairs of red will do." He said, "We'll just use them in the semis and the final."
Yeah.
I said, "Does that mean I can put a stall on at the semis and the finals?" And he went, "Of course you can, anything you like."
Yeah.
And he was a brilliant fellow.
Yeah.
So for 5 years through that, I sponsored the NABCs through Everlast, and they all used these gloves, and it was great.
Yeah,
It was flying, so everybody got to see me then selling stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So the Everlast stuff was flying, and I seen this shop come up for rent in Prescott, opposite end of this road, and it was £60 a week, and I thought, that's cheap, and it was on a corner of a main road, and so I asked could I finish the lease off in the unit, and he went, "If you pay us off."
Yeah.
So I thought, so I ended up paying £1,000, which is a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
To stop that, and I moved into this shop. Martin Murray came in, painted it all and cleaned it for me, as a good lad he was. We moved all the stuff into there, and about 3 weeks after that, I got notification the grant had come through.
Yeah.
So I had enough money to buy a full container load from Everlast.
Oh, fantastic.
With a bit of money left over.
Yeah.
So I got the container load of Everlast to come over, and with the money that was left over, I contacted a manufacturing company in Jalandhar in India, and they asked them would they make my designs of gloves, and they, of course they say they will. And it was quite good, and so that was the first Pro-Am brand.
Right, and that was in India, not in Pakistan.
No, it was in India.
Okay.
And the following year, I designed a new headguard and gloves for IEBA approval. So we got, in 1998, we eventually got IEBA approval as well.
Yeah, yeah.
With my own gloves and my own headguard.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So it just grew from £150 and on my way.
Yeah, and then obviously you got involved with a few Mexican brands as well. How did that come about?
Yeah, around the same time, about 1998, 99, I was helping my friend Colin Moorcroft out, who was a pro trainer. He had a good little stable, but he was on his own, so I was helping him out. And I started to sponsor his boxers. There was Johnny Armour, Peter Culshaw, both world champions at the time. Gary Lockett was a top prospect.
Yeah.
Willie Limond used to come now and again. So I was helping him, and I got my pro licence as well.
Okay.
On the quiet, because you weren't supposed to do the two at the same time.
Yeah.
And I was meeting people from all over the world by then, and I run into Elizabeth Reyes from Clito Reyes. She's running in the factory. She said, and we were speaking, and she said, "Why don't you sell our stuff from your shop?" Okay. So I started selling the Clito Reyes stuff. Yeah. And then I went on another show, and Elvis Grant Phillips come talking to me, "When you sell that shit," being, you know, because they're all competitive, aren't they?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
You know, Everlast hated him, he hated Everlast. None of them got on with Reyes because they were Mexican, and he said, "Can't you sell my gloves?" And I said, "Well, I only pay about 60 quid a pair for the Reyes." I said, "If you can beat their price, I'll stick it alongside them." Yeah. He went, "Yeah, okay, I'll charge you the same as Reyes charge you for their stuff." Okay. So I ended up having Everlast, Clito Reyes, Grant, plus my own brand. Wow. Out of that little shop. Yeah, yeah. I had to approach the board with a lot of things and say, "Can we use these gloves?" And at that time there wasn't an official thing. I just used to ask permission. I used to see Robert Smith and go, "What do you reckon on them, Robert?" Yeah, yeah. And he go, "Yeah, they're all right, mate." Yeah, so and that use them. Yeah, that was that's not changed much really, has it? So that was how they were tested and passed.
Yeah.
And a famous trainer and club called the Solly in Liverpool. One day, Alan Lynch, he was the boss, everyone calls him. He run the Solly, he was on the ABA committees and everything. Very well respected gentleman. He said to me one day, he said, I need you to do me a favour. So I said, what's that? He said, I need you to train David Burke. He said, you got your pro licence? I know you've been doing the two.
Yeah.
So I said, well, it's up to Mr. Chisnall. I said, because he owns me. And so they had a meeting, and John went, look, as long as it benefits the club as well, and you can bring a few lads in for a bit of sparring with our boys, and I don't mind you doing the two. Yeah. And so I took on David Burke, who's a Lantern Olympian. He'd lost one of about 10, I think, at the time. And I was doing all right training him then, so I was getting recognised as a trainer then, because he was a good, very, very good lad. Yeah. We ended up winning the Commonwealth title and the world title together. Yeah. I mean, it's amazing how many great people you meet and where those sort of meetings lead to, isn't it? I've found that even with the channel. Yeah. Sort of one person you speak to, and then suddenly you meet somebody else, and you know, amazing people that I've met in the time that I've been doing the YouTube channel, and I'm sure I'll meet a lot more. And it's just great because everyone loves boxing. They've got that sort of common thing that they're sort of passionate about. And I mean, that's one of the things that I really love about the channel, is that sort of connections with people all over the world. They're all very genuine people in boxing. There's very few nasty people. Yeah. No, we all have them, but there's very few. Through being a boxer, a trainer, and a shop, I've got friends all over the world now. I used to get asked to will you put a stall on in our tournament? Where is it? Bulgaria. Yeah, all right. And it'd be like a holiday for me, and you know, I go to the tournament with a little stall and sell a few t-shirts, IBA approved stuff, and hand wraps and whatever they needed for the tournament. Yeah. I used to go all over the world doing that. Sometimes I used to didn't want to go. I got an invite to the African Games one year. It was in Nigeria. And my mate's going, don't be going there. He said, they're kidnapping people on left, right and centre. So I made an excuse not to go to that one. One I used to really enjoy going to was the Limassol Cup in Cyprus. Okay, yeah. It's brilliant. It's still going. It's brilliantly run. Yeah. I used to supply the equipment, and I'd send stuff on ahead. And whatever I didn't sell, the chap who runs it, Chris Aravis, he's like a brother now, you know, he's a brilliant fella. Brilliant coach. Yeah. He used to buy whatever was left of me. Okay. So it's like I used to go to Cyprus for a week, sunbathe, do a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and come back with a big wad of money. Yeah, that's alright, isn't it? And on top of that, sometimes I'd sit there and watch the tournaments, and anybody who wanted to turn pro, I'd get them and bring them back to the UK and turn pro. Okay, yeah. So it's benefiting on several fronts. Yeah, it was great. I picked one boy up there once. Chris said to me, he said, when you come to the tournament this year, I've been asked as a Serbian kid, he's rated #1 in the world. He's like a welter light middle. Come and watch him. He wants to turn pro. So I went there and he won the gold medal, and he was pretty good. I'd seen him before in the Olympics and stuff. Yeah. And Gerd Ajatovic. So I brought him home with me for a couple of weeks to see if he'd fit in. So he lived with me for a few weeks, see if he fit in with the lads. Yeah. Couldn't speak much English, but he was enough to get by. And he actually was in the corner, well, not in the corner, but with us when we took David Burke to beat Colin Dunn for the WBU World title. Yeah. And there's pictures of him in there before he'd even turned pro with us on that night. And I went back to Serbia with him, met the national team managers and stuff like that. Gave them a few little things as a thank you for putting them on to me, and I brought him back to the UK, and one other called Marko Doknic, who was another European bronze medalist. Yeah. The two of them turned pro with me, and they were really, really good. Yeah. They could have been better. Yeah. But they enjoyed themselves. Marko still lives here. Gerd didn't quite follow the path he was meant to. Oh, okay. I always said to him, you've got 10 fights with me, you listen to me and improve, and because the hard thing was then it was all computer scoring. And it was like they took up, nothing had land, nothing had scored, they'd throw one shot, 1-0.
Yeah.
And you could win the four 2-minute rounds like 2-1 on the scorecard.
Yeah.
So it's hard to turn somebody like that at 300 fights of that to turn professional and a professional style.
Yeah.
He was a bit of hard work, and I said, if you don't change in these 10 fights, I'll have to let you go. So it means you're not going to learn. So I said, he'll end up being a semi-journeyman on the German circuit you watch.
Yeah.
And even after 10 fights, he was getting hard work. He was a bit unruly, so I let him go.
Yeah.
And he ended up boxing out of Germany as a semi-gatekeeper, if you like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He ended up in about 65 pro fights.
Did he?
Boxed about 6 world champions.
Yeah,
Never stopped.
Yeah.
He could bang a bit as well, but he was just lazy. We're all lazy in one way. I couldn't get him to do road work. He hated it. I used to have to drag him out the door to do road work. He just wanted to come to the gym, pads and sparring and go home. That was all he was interested in, and you can't be a professional doing that.
Yeah.
But he was a bit of a bully as well.
Okay. He
liked to knock the other kids about, and well, kids, grown men, but he'd like to knock them about a bit as well when he was told not to. But he should have been a world champion. Everybody who met him said he's going up to the top. Yeah. And being an away fighter, fighting for world titles, he boxed Dmitry Pirog in Moscow. I don't think Pirog laid a glove on him for 12 rounds.
Oh really?
Got beat unanimous.
Oh right, okay.
He fought Daniel Gill in Australia.
Yeah.
Daniel couldn't lay a glove on him for 12 rounds, and I think he was tottering about for the last 3 or 4 rounds trying to survive Daniel, and Daniel won unanimous. Giovanni Di Carolis, same again. He actually gave Harry Simon such a severe beating, he was in hospital for 3 weeks.
Oh right, okay.
In Africa.
Yeah.
And he got beaten unanimous.
Okay.
The referee picked Harry Simon up 3 or 4 times, I believe. It was awful. But because he was an away fighter and known as such, he was never going to get a look in.
Yeah. What? Who is the best boxer you've worked with?
Peter Culshaw.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I wasn't his trainer. I was his assistant trainer. Towards the end of his career, I think he holds the record for the youngest ever senior ABA champion. Yeah. He was just 17. He was outstanding. If he was boxing now, he would be easily a multi-belt holder, let alone if not undisputed. He was a flyweight at 5'8".
Oh right, okay.
He used to come in the gym about 10 stone with a pot belly on him. Yeah. And he'd get down to 8 stone, and he'd be chiselled and cut and super fit. Yeah. But the things he used to do, he could hit like a welterweight, which is unusual for a flyweight. He was a flyweight champion and super flyweight champion. Wow. And I've seen him just beat people up, sparring no end, and people obviously a lot bigger than him. Yeah. There's nothing he couldn't do. Yeah. And it was effortless. Yeah. He was a lovely lad. I've loads of respect for him. But he come from a fighting family. All his brothers were boxers as well. But he was just so smooth in everything he did. He didn't even look like he was trying. Yeah. I used to sometimes think, if he's not trying and he's beating people that easily, if he put 150% into it, imagine where he'd be. I seen him box Ian Napper. Yeah. Boxed Ian Napper for I don't know what it was for. I think it was an 8-round. No, it was a 10-round fight. Ian Napper was very, very good fighter. He was excellent boxer, and he was like hard to catch clean. Yeah. Peter caught him in a perfect shot in the first round and picked him up. And then we kept coming back, and Colin kept saying to him, "What are you doing, Peter?" He said, "Just finish it. Yeah. Just finish it." He's going, "I will do. I will do." Carried on. And you could see, he'd get him in the corner and he'd feint the left hook to the body, right hand over the top. Ian's knees had sagged and he'd grab his elbow and pick him up. Yeah. Strange, that. Anyway, the 8th round comes, he goes out, he's walked out, boom, Napper's gone, left it at that. Peter won. Afterwards, he's getting interviewed on the end, and I forget who it was interviewing him, Adam Smith, I think it was, and he went, "Looked like you were carrying him there for a few rounds." And he went, "Yeah, he said my manager bet on the 8th round knockout and I wanted to put their hand over his mouth." And
but to be that skilled, to be able to be in that much control against.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. The control. Yeah. He was on phenomenal skill factor, and he just didn't look like he was trying ever.
Yeah.
He was a funny lad in the gym as well.
Yeah.
He was the most angry person you've ever seen that lose. I imagine losing 2 stone to box, 2.5 stone. He was always angry.
Yeah.
But I used to like buzz off him. He was so funny. But I've never met a better boxer, to be honest.
Really? Wow.
He could. If he'd have had a little bit more application, he would have been a superstar.
Yeah.
But I think we're going back to like what, early 2000s. So flyweights, there wasn't much for them anyway, was there?
Yeah.
I'd have moved him up to bantamweight and he cleaned out, to be honest. That's what I would. My opinion was he should have been. I think his only defeat was A.D. Lewis for the British title.
Right.
Remember A.D. Lewis? He was about 4'3", wasn't he?
Yeah. So what happened then with his career then?
He just petered away. Yeah. Shooter culture, petered away.
Yeah.
He's a taxi driver now.
Is he? In terms of sort of what you're doing now, then obviously you've got the store. You're still involved in the amateur game. Still involved in the pro game. And what's sort of on the horizon for you now?
We're just opening a new gym near where I live.
Okay.
I found the premises, which, as you know, to get a boxing gym size premises is hard.
Yeah.
Because nurseries are in there before you, or restaurants. It's really difficult to get the good premises. We found a church.
All right. Brilliant.
Like an old Methodist type church.
Yeah.
And I seen it was up for rent, and a friend of mine had an amateur club who'd lost his premises, and they were paying some ridiculous £45 an hour just to use a hall to keep the kids ticking over. So I asked him, said, do you want to come and share this gym with me? I said, because I don't want to do another amateur club now. I said, I've done that for 30 years, up and down the country, championships 7 days a week. I just want to stick with my pro thing now.
Yeah.
He said, well, what do you want to do? I said, well, you put your amateur club in there, and I'll just run my pros in there if and when they need a camp and stuff, and I'll put all the gear in there.
Yeah, fantastic. So that's exciting.
Yeah. So they've just put the ring in there, and a rig for the bags. So hopefully over the summer, just going to take our time, get it done, get it done right. Yeah. Maybe put another ring in. There's enough room, easy enough room for 2 rings. Showers put in. That usual thing. I'll start again with a new. Obviously, I've got a couple of pro lads that are helping out.
Yes.
But obviously, once I've got a new base, people tend to come. Then. They'll come again. It's up and down the pro game, and sometimes you've got world champions. Sometimes you've got journeymen. I don't care whether I'm not one of those trainers who goes, I don't want a journeyman.
Yeah.
I don't care who they are. If they give me 100%, I'll give them 100%. Whether they're winners, losers, or just tryers, I'll give them all a go.
Yeah.
If they don't give me a go like the other fella, do it somewhere else.
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to just some quick fire questions to you at the end, what's your favourite fight glove?
It's a hard question.
You can give me 2.
The original Grants were the best glove.
Okay.
When it just had the circle and Grant written across it.
Yeah.
Those 8 and 10 ounce gloves, I had a little bit of input with them as well.
Yeah.
They were a really good glove. I liked them.
Yeah.
It's hard to say another one. It's difficult for me to say. I design all my gear.
Yes.
All my pro-am stuff is designed by me.
Yeah.
The factory have an input, but I design it from ground up, and if they can improve on it, I don't mind them improving it.
Yeah.
What Paffin Sports and Adidas do at the minute, I designed years ago through a company called Star Pack.
Yes.
And we use them for matching shows with my logo on. It's the same glove, because obviously the factory's not going to go away from something that's working. So I think they're my gloves, to be honest. Rays are rays. They are what they are. I like them. A lot of what's on the market at the minute are just copies of copies, aren't they?
Yeah. There's a lot of that going on.
A lot of people, they'll go and buy an Everlast glove, send it to Pakistan, copy that, give it to the board, and that's that. We've actually got two forms of fight glove that we have.
Yeah.
They're used all over the world. I'm just asking the board now, can we use them as an upgrade on our old glove that's being used?
Yeah.
I'll show you them shortly anyway.
Yeah,
You can have your opinion on them.
Yeah. Favourite amateur glove?
Greeno.
Greeno.
I think the amateur gloves, it's not about trying to knock each other out. It's about showing skills.
Yeah.
Greeno are a better shape with injected mould.
Yeah.
Adidas are okay.
Mm.
Velo, I thought, were the best on the market, but obviously they had a fallout with IBA.
Okay, that was fantastic. Just to catch up, to come and visit the store, to catch up on Chris's boxing journey, not only when he was actually fighting, but obviously the journey from sort of selling gloves originally all the way through to where we are now, sitting in the store here in St Helens. So that was absolutely fantastic. Very fascinating journey. A lot of sort of things in there that people can sort of see with their own boxing journeys, and how meeting different people can lead to so many different other things and places that you probably didn't think that you was going to end up in.
Definitely.
Yeah. So thank you ever so much, Chris. Brilliant. So I hope you enjoyed that. Please like and subscribe to Fit to Box channel, and I shall speak to you soon.